Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the theme park evangelist. Move my hair out of the way so it won't look like such a mess. Anyway, before I officially start today's last vlog, which will be why I left Toy Story Land to go work at Epcot, I wanted to just clarify that Halloween Haunt and Winterfest are coming back this year in 2021. I had just done a vlog on what it was like to work at Toy Story Land versus Magic Kingdom, specifically Tomorrowland Speedway, but I didn't really clarify that in my video for New Year's Day. And that was my first Life as a Working Disney cast member series in a long time. So, did 3 vlogs today. Considering I wasn't able to do the Cincinnati Zoo today, I'm trying to make it up by doing a bunch of at-home vlogs today. And then next week, I will do a bunch more. And this will probably be all the vlogs I will be able to do for the week because I've got work and college to do this week. So enjoy the fact that I'm able to do a whole bunch of vlogs all at once because after today, I will not be able to. Once I am done college, then I'll be able to do a bunch more again. And then I'm also thinking about going to the Cincinnati Zoo on the 24th of May if things work out. That is, if I'm financially able to, and as long as time permits. And of course, most importantly, if weather permits. Those are the 3 big ifs: weather, finances, and time. So I'll keep you guys updated. But I've decided to go ahead and try postponing the Cincinnati Zoo trip to the 24th if possible. And I'll post that update on Facebook as well, my Facebook page. Anyways, got a long vlog ahead of you guys. And I gotta get the car vacuumed before I head to Bible study. So let's get going. And I want to get this done before my roommate gets on top of that. So I was working at Toy Story Land for about 2 months, and everything was going really well. I was getting along very well with all the managers. I was kind of working in different areas of Toy Story Land. I was helping out a little bit here and there with Toy Story Mania. I never really worked at Slinky Dog Dash before. I was fully trained on Alien Swirling Saucers. My trainers did fully sign me off on it and everything, so I was fully capable of working it. And for whatever weird reason, at the very beginning of February, like right after February 7th, when my brother and I went back in 2019, I know this was like 2 years ago, but still, my brother and I had gone to go see the Star Wars fireworks, and that was like the last time I took him to Sci-Fi Dining Theater. And this year I took him to 50's Primetime Cafe, so at least I got to take him about 2 years later. Sure, the pandemic kind of ruined it for us, but you know. And at least we got to do Galaxy's Edge, so it's not like, you know, I didn't make something worthwhile for him. Like, since we did, you know, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, let's go do an old-time favorite of ours. Let's go to 50's Primetime Cafe, but anyway, that's a different story. Yeah, I hadn't taken him to Sci-Fi Dining Theater in like forever, so we went there back 2 years ago, and you know, we did all that. And something happened like right after that day. That was my day off, and it was just one of those, you know, normal days. Well, it seemed normal at first, and then I was closing the gates. Now, the gates completely work on air pressure. And somehow both Alien Swirling Saucers and Slinky Dog Dash are interconnected. Someone accidentally shut off the air pressure to both of the rides, and both rides pretty much had to e-stop. Now, ours was down longer for whatever reason, at least our half of it. We were able to get the other half working from what I remember. But our half was down quite a while because the fact that the gates were wide open at the time. And as soon as the alarm went off signifying that there was a problem, I immediately stopped the entire ride, and we had to evacuate our half of the ride anyway, and we sent them over to the other side, which was working. I did everything I was supposed to. I stayed right where I was until another cast member came. She had the piece of paper basically that was rotation. A rotation is when a cast member is saying that you are now free to leave this position. The cast member laid it on the podium, basically now saying that she was now in charge of that position. I was no longer in charge of that position anymore. And I didn't stop and think about it at the time because, all the craziness that happened. And maintenance had came over. Now, for whatever weird reason, I forgot that he was supposed to be over there. Must have been caught up in the moment or something like that. I knew I was okay to leave the podium at that point, so I jumped out and I went and got him. Now, I knew I was okay to do it, but for whatever weird reason, my brain forgot to say that when I got a call from someone saying, "Why did you leave your position?" I didn't actually leave my position because someone else is now in charge. And that cast member knew it too. And that cast member was also a good friend of mine on top of that. But I came back pretty much within about 15 seconds. And yes, the ride was down. The ride was powered down and everything. And someone else was watching the position. Not to mention, I was no longer responsible for it. I'm telling you everything from my perspective, but I'm also going to tell you what they believe too. So, they did not know she had walked in there, and they also did not know. Oh, good, my sheets are done. But anyway, they also did not know she had laid the position or the piece of paper down. So, as far as they knew, I had abandoned my position. So later on, I got a piece of paper saying I had to go to the bungalows, basically the manager's office. So, I went down there. I'm like, okay. So I got down there. And to, make this a long story short, they basically reprimanded me for abandoning my position. And the manager's like, oh, you better be careful. You don't want to, make this a regular habit and we have to get rid of you. No, they did kind of give me, too much of a hard time on the first one because of the fact that they should have known that I would never intentionally leave my position. And also the fact that the ride was down at the time, but I should have suspected that he was up to something, but he didn't want to say it right away. It should have come obvious to me at the time, but at the same time I was like, things happen. Well, about a couple of weeks later went by, and I was really tired that day. I've been doing like 12-hour days over there, plus I was working another job, plus I was going to school. But, Disney doesn't stop and think about that, nor does Disney really care if it comes down to it. No offense to them or anything. And, I'm going through and doing all my seatbelt checks. It's, because Disney's number one priority is always going to be safety. Even though Disney is very big about their other aspects besides safety, which is courtesy, show efficiency, and now their fourth one, which is, making sure everybody's treated the same way, despite, or regardless, I should say, of your race, your skin color, ethnicity, and even whether you're gay or not, or whatever. But the point is, Disney wants to treat everybody equally. I'm gonna basically call it their equality key, even though that's not actually what it's called. I can't remember what it's called offhand, but that's what I'm gonna call it, and that's basically what Disney is going by these days. And that was never a thing until within the past month or so. And I did my seatbelt checks properly. The only thing I did wrong that particular day was I came upon 3 Chinese young adults that were all sitting together. They were probably in their early 20s. Being older and becoming more observant, um, I more than likely would have seen this even in my in a tired state. I still would have seen it, but I was, 2 years ago, I was so tired I didn't even notice. I'll be honest, and I was just like, like whatever. So I let it go, and I honestly thought they were all kids. They were so small. I didn't stop and think about it. Now here comes where it gets really interesting. Yes, by rights, I should have noticed and I should have made him, move. There was an extra vehicle. I should have noticed there was an extra vehicle. And I don't remember where the extra vehicle was. I don't remember if it was on my side or if it was on my coworker side. That's where I don't remember. And if it was on my coworker side, the coworker should have noticed. If I remember correctly, it was on the coworker side. The coworker should have been like, wait a minute. But the coworker, for whatever reason, didn't say anything about that. I try to remember the reason for that, but all I remember was I got on my booth. I made sure I said it was clear to start the ride. The coworker looked around and said it was clear to start the ride. I personally think that she overlooked it at first, and it wasn't until the ride had gotten going that she happened to notice, oh, there's 3 adults sitting in one ride vehicle. That's not okay. Well, she was about to press the E-stop, and I should have done this too, but I was just so tired I wasn't thinking. And that was another chance for me to clear myself. So she made a quick call to her coordinator, and coordinator was like, I think that David should press the E-stop first. I'm going to wait and see if he does it. And she's like, are you sure? And coordinator said, well, let me check with the manager. And the manager was like, oh, it's David. Yeah, definitely make sure he presses E-stop first. It was the same manager from last time, by the way. And, of course, I let the whole ride go through the whole thing. They're like, yeah, we're going to get him. So they actually let the whole ride go through, which, is really stupid. And another coworker of mine saw this, and I guess the coworker tried going to the manager about it later, and the manager tried having her sign or fill out some type of I witnessed this kind of situation out in the public's view or the guest view, and the coworker was like, I ain't gonna do that, like, forget it. And the manager was actually kind of surprised about this, which I thought was hilarious. I found out about all this after the fact. I'm going ahead and saving you guys the trouble and just telling you guys everything that happened all in one shot, so you guys don't have to worry about hearing it during my Epcot days. I just want to focus on the Epcot days and not worry about the back and forth between Toy Story Land and Epcot. And that way it sounds better. And that way you guys can see that it had nothing to do with Epcot and why I left. Because honestly, the management at Epcot was awesome. I loved the management at Epcot. I love the environment. I love the people I worked with. That was not their fault that I left. And it had nothing to do with the company either. And if it came down to it, it's the fact that I wasn't even at Toy Story Land anymore, and I was still getting drama from Toy Story Land. That was why I left. And the fact that I found out why I got thrown out, and that's what did me in. I'm not going to say it publicly, but let's just put it this way. It's something I would never get out of Disney. And let's just put it this way. If I had been gay, I could sue them for billions of dollars. Because Disney is such a huge supporter of the gay pride movement. And because I was autistic, that was the only reason why they got away with it. If I had been gay, completely different story. Because Disney can get in so much trouble for discriminating against a gay person. Because I know how Disney feels about gay pride. I know how they do. Or how they feel about them. And it honestly surprises me that they can get away with it discriminating against an autistic person, but they can't get away with discriminating against a gay person. Now explain the reason behind that. Because pretty much any person you'll talk to will say we were both born differently, and you know it, and you would like. I personally don't agree with that, but pretty much everybody that you would talk to would say a gay person is born differently, you know, or was born that way, I should say, an autistic person was born that way. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's the way they were wired. That's just the way the world views it. But for whatever weird reason, society, this is all going back to my sociology class, society has taught us that for whatever weird reason, anytime you discriminate against gender or sex, that's probably one of the biggest violations you can ever make. That is the direction we're going these days. I mean, if you have ever been on Facebook recently, if I'm not mistaken, the gay pride movement on at least Facebook has millions of likes right now. And the gay pride movement is growing faster and faster and incredible right every single year. And I don't necessarily see as much support for the autistic movement as I do for the gay pride movement. Not to mention, Disney alone has an entire month centered around gay pride. So the whole month of June next month is gay pride month. And I don't want you guys to think that I support the gay pride movement whatsoever. I just want you guys to know I do have the knowledge about it. To prove that if I had been gay, the whole situation would have been completely different. And I sometimes would have loved to go back in time and, pretend that I was gay and then see how that would have played out for them. They probably would never have treated me differently. If I had pretended to be gay but yet still been autistic, more than likely they would have tried to work things out. And they definitely would not have gone the same direction. They probably would not have been half as hard on me. And it's all because of the fact that they would have had to stand by their whole policy on we 100% respect the gay pride movement. And even if Disney didn't follow through, guess what? Starbucks would have seen it, or other major corporations would have seen it and would have come to my rescue if I had pretended to be gay. But here comes the other problem. If I had pretended to be gay, I might have become a worldwide celebrity. And then I would have had that issue too, because I know I'm not. So you got to look at it that way. And I don't want to post this YouTube video to bash Disney down. As I said at the end of my last video, you're going to have people that just don't respect you for who you are. And let me also just put this out there in case you're hating on Disney right now. I have been discriminated for being autistic since I was very young. Hold on, I got a phone call. Yeah, I have honestly been discriminated against my whole life. So, what happened at Disney's Hollywood Studios of Toy Story Land was honestly just one of those things that it hurt for a couple of years. But at this point, I've been gone for so long that I'd be surprised if he even recognized me. I still recognize him. It's not something I'm ever going to completely get over. But at this point, I'm a Disney guest now. I don't plan on going back to work there, especially now that they're so equality focused. I seriously doubt that anything like that would ever happen again. I am happy to see a lot of Disney cast members are starting to go back to work, especially now that the college program is back. I forgot to tell my dad, oh, by the way, the Disney college program is back. So, yeah, that is kind of cool. And it's just, it's one of those things that, what am I going to do about it, honestly, at this point? I can't go back in time and change what's already been done. God didn't create life to be like that. I know a lot of us or like, God has nothing to do with it, but he does. But anyway, I'm not gonna, talk about that, is what I meant to say. But anyway, basically, in conclusion, here's what ended up happening with the second incident. So the manager intentionally reprimanded me as hard again, and that was intentionally to get rid of me because he just didn't want to deal with me anymore. His basically reasoning, without being too obvious, was he couldn't put up with someone with autism. That was really about it. And I get it. I've been treated like that since I was young, and I still kind of get that impression from people even now. It's called, who wants to deal with an autistic person? Just kick him off to the curb, let someone else deal with him that has more patience. We would rather put up with someone that's normal who can catch on to things quicker, someone who's not going to sit there and make mistakes constantly, someone who can actually get things done on time every single time, someone that's not going to prevent people from, getting out late. Like at the Ark encounter, sometimes I feel like that hindrance because of the fact that sometimes people have to sit there and wait on me. They would rather have someone normal that's, up there on the third deck that is going to get done, right at 7:30 every single time, so that way they can get out of there and get on the bus on time and be home by a certain time. Now, sometimes, they might treat me like that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a problem with me. Here's what I'm getting out of Answers in Genesis versus Disney. It depends on what is going on that day. And I forgot to tell this to Vanita, and maybe she would relate to this. If it's a really, really, really busy day, which sometimes we get those, especially the summer coming around the corner, they're exhausted. At the end of the day, they don't have the patience to just sit there and wait for you to be done or get wrapping up. They expect you to already be done. But that doesn't necessarily mean they have a problem with you. It just means that they just don't really have the patience to sit there and wait for you. That's all. But no, they don't have any problem with me whatsoever. Actually, a coordinator of mine put it this way to me, because I don't personally think that, I'm a normal person because I have autism. Even when I'm not at work, I still don't feel that way. Or that's just how I feel. And this is how she put it to me. She said, I am created in God's image. And not just me, you who are watching on whatever electronic device are created in God's image. I know you're probably going to laugh at me and whatever. Honestly, I've gotten to the point in my life where I really could care less what people think about me. Because my goal in life is to fulfill God's, commission, which is to tell people about Him so that they can be saved. And that was pretty much what the Great Commission was. Go out, spread His word, fill the heavens with more and more Christians, so that that way there will be that much less people that are dying and burning in hell, because that's the last thing I want, and that's the last thing He wants too, and that's the last thing any good Christian would want, is to see another person burning in hell for all eternity. And I know it's a tough subject to talk about, and that's why we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, and that's about as far as I'm going. And and sometimes it's hard for me to sit there and comprehend that despite the fact that God allowed me to have disabilities, God still considers me a normal person. I may not consider myself a normal person, but that's because I don't have the greatest self-esteem in the world either. But everybody else, still sees me as a normal person. Like, I know my disabilities affect a lot of things. I know my disabilities affect my ability to process things as quickly as others. I know my disabilities make me act a little younger than others. I know my disabilities cause me to see the world from a really strange point of view. I know that my disabilities cause me to look like a 27-year-old man and probably still have the mind of a child, but I mean, I'm not saying that I sit around and I watch Peppa Pig or whatever. I'm saying that I'm the kind of person that when I'm done work for the day, I will come home, I'll goof off on some of my video games. The kind of TV shows I watch normally would be 90s cartoons. Hey Arnold, Fairly Odd Parents. I don't watch SpongeBob anymore. Those days are done. I know there's people that still enjoy that. Um, I also enjoy Rugrats, um, Jimmy Neutron, and so on and so forth. Oh yeah, Powerpuff Girls. Love my Powerpuff Girls. I know I get made fun of for stuff like that, and that's okay because that's just the way my mindset is, and that's what helps me unwind. And then of course the YouTubing thing. I enjoy sitting here and just. I honestly can. I feel very comfortable sitting in front of my laptop and talking to a webcam. I honestly could easily be a news anchor. I could sit there in a giant room and talk to a camera for hours. Even though I know I have millions of people watching me, it wouldn't bother me because all I'm seeing is a camera. Now, on the other hand, I have a bit of a harder time standing up in front of over 100 people, and then I'm just like, whoa, because now I can see all those people looking at me, versus if I were a news anchor, all I can see is the camera. But even though I know mentally inside hundreds of people, actually, well, millions of people would be watching me over the camera, and like the whole YouTubing thing, I have been viewed thousands of times. Thousands of people have seen me over the past 5 years, but I don't stop and think about that because every time I've YouTubed, I've either looked at a webcam or I've looked at the back of my camera, or even the front of my camera for that matter. And that's all I have ever looked at. Or I've had my friends that have been with me and I'll look at them and they'll look at the camera. But I've never actually really seen anybody that has ever actually watched my YouTube channel. And I've only actually really talked to a couple of people over the years that have actually said, I've seen you on YouTube. And yet I know for a fact that thousands of people have seen me over the years. But that's just, something that I can do. Not everybody can sit here in front of a laptop and come up with a good 30 minutes of information to talk about. This is a gift of mine. And not just this, I have a very powerful memory. I can remember stuff within seconds, and some people can't even do that. And I have very selective memory, not to mention, but doesn't everybody, though? In some ways, it's not always bad to be autistic. Here's where it's a good thing to be autistic, and I promise this is where I'll wrap up. The pros for me about being autistic, you've already heard the cons, would be the fact that I'm very creative. I can easily create things. Let's say I'm playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. You've seen my RCT3 Kings Island. And a couple of others that I've made that are all on my YouTube. I did those based on real things I've seen, and then I just made a computerized world of it. Sometimes, excuse me, I've even tried making my own version and not having anything to rely on. A lot of those fictional stories that are on my YouTube, I made those all up on my own. And that's just something I'm very good at doing. Whenever I do a lot of these stories, I'm very good about visualizing being there. Like when I was telling the whole Toy Story Land story, I was easily able to put myself back about 2 years ago and remember exactly what happened over the past 2 years, but still being able to be here mentally in the present and being able to tell you guys exactly what happened and paraphrase it so it didn't sound so boring and try to keep it interesting and exciting. Here's another really crazy one that blows a lot of people away. If my friend TJ, I know sometimes on Facebook and YouTube, we can come across as gay, and I'll tell you guys a reason why we come across that way, and you'll understand a little bit better. But anyway, if we're driving down the highway, or sorry, if he's driving down the highway and he says he's passing by the Wawa, I could actually picture myself in the passenger seat with him passing by the Wawa and seeing the Publix on Shoppies on the Ridge and even the Eagle Ridge Mall, even though I'm physically looking at something completely different. And a lot of people are like, how do you do that? It's just the way my brain's wired, I guess. Anyway, there's a few unanswered questions that I have for you guys that I've been meaning to answer, and that's how I'll end my YouTube video. So, why do TJ and I come across as, looking gay? Because I'm sure a couple of you guys, or not just a couple, I'm sure however many of you have seen my YouTube videos over the years and seen TJ and I, you guys have probably noticed that TJ and I have an unusual bond for two guys. TJ, as you know, is more autistic than myself. And TJ, for whatever reason, feels this need to be right by my side if I'm down in Florida, or if he's up here with me. The fact that he went and canceled my whole entire vacation, even though I wasn't okay with it, and I actually allowed it, says a lot. So, this is one of those, weird things. If we were gay, that would come across as normal, but because of the fact that he's autistic, it kind of makes you scratch your head and go, what? So, this is kind of a difficult, question to answer, but I'm going to answer it to the best of my abilities. His brain is wired to thinking that if I'm down in Florida, if he's up here, we have to be able to spend every single millisecond together. If we can't, then he'll have a meltdown. That's just the best way to put it. He might be physically 27 years old, but trust me, he's mentally 5. And I really don't know how else to put it. And he acts like his whole life depends on me and him being together. So whenever I'm with him, I try to spend as much time with him as I possibly can. When I do spend time with him, here's what I try to do versus what he does. Let's say, for example, we go to Disney together. Sometimes I'll try walking away from him, because sometimes I don't feel the need to always be right there attached to his side. Because sometimes I might want my own space. So sometimes he might see me try walking off from him, but you'll notice not even 5 seconds later he'll be right next to me again. That's because he also thinks that if I walk away from him, he needs to walk away or walk right back next to me. It's a very rare if I'm down in Florida and he is not right there with me. If I'm in his house, I sometimes have to sneak out of his house just to be by myself. There was one time I was at his house, and I literally had to sneak out of the house just to be by myself. Because if I'm with him, he'll literally suck me dry. Because he doesn't seem to get that I need my alone time. Because he's spent so much time alone that if I'm there with him, that the only time I'm basically by myself is at night in bed. I'm glad for that too, because the last thing I want is for him to start getting ideas. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. And I'm not even kidding about that. That is literally the only time of the day I'm ever by myself. That means he is right there by my side when we eat meals together, when we drive places together, when we go to the gas station together, if we go do anything fun together. He's pretty much right there attached to my hip. Because that's just how much he likes to be with me. And it's not that I feel the same way, that's just how he feels. And I can't completely explain the way his brain is wired because of the fact that his autism is worse than mine, but that's just how he feels. And I have a few unanswered questions from the Ark encounter. I am so sorry about that. I was there and I had said I was going to answer them and I never did. So I believe I was going to answer why are the restrooms all on the left side of the ark? So technically, they're not just on the left side, they're also on the back side of the ark. And the reason for that is because you guys, whenever you go to the ark encounter, you're always seeing the whole entire ark, but there's actually a part of the ark that you're not able to see. So the ark encounter is a giant museum built to look like a giant ark. So the only way for them to be able to build restrooms and soda fountains into the giant ark was to build partial buildings behind the ark. And they had to make them go all the way from the very bottom all the way to the very top. This was so they could run the plumbing and the soda fountain stuff through the entire ark. And that's also where the break rooms are at. So they built the ark actually bigger than the buildings so it would hide the building part of it, which I thought was kind of cool. So the next time you go to the ark, just keep in mind that there's actually stuff hidden behind the ark that you cannot actually see. I do eventually want to go back there as a guest to show you guys that new stuff, but as of right now, I went there not too long ago and there really isn't anything new to report. Excuse me. I wish I could show you guys all that stuff. Unfortunately, that's all backstage and I don't want to ruin the effect. Just like a Disney cast member would not want to ruin the Disney magic, I don't want to ruin the Answers in Genesis magic. So, yeah, that's definitely something for you guys to keep in mind. So, let's start with deck one. The restroom that's right there, that is actually in a building. That is not actually in the ark itself. The elevators that you guys use if you're ever in the ark, once again, that's not actually in the ark itself. That is in the building that I was telling you guys about. That's how you get throughout the entire ark. The elevator goes up and down throughout the entire building. That's why you have to go through a door that takes you into another area and takes you up and down. As you've noticed, it looks very different from the actual ark because you're not actually in the ark anymore, you're in a building. The restroom is harder to tell because it blends in so well. And then the soda fountain, another one of those hard to tell, but yes, you're not actually in the ark anymore. That whole area on deck 1 and deck 2 and even deck 3 where the fair trade is and you buy your drinks and your snacks, that's all inside a building. But you can't tell because they try blending it in to make it look like you're still on the ark. Another cool fact I can tell you guys, and I will show you guys in person the next time I go to the ark, now that I work on the ark, and I forgot to mention this when I was there last. If you guys noticed the way the lighting is, did you notice that there was absolutely no wires whatsoever exposed? Everything was actually designed so that the wires were going through like the walls or whatever. And the reason for that was so that it would make it look more authentic. To make it look like you were actually living in the Ark Encounter times. The only thing I kind of wish that Answers in Genesis did that would have been kind of cool is if they had made the restrooms have a bit of a theme. But honestly, Answers in Genesis has huge restrooms. And they're very clean too, which I have to give them kudos for that. Anyway, sounds like my roommate's over home. So always remember you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great day. Peace out.